radical awakening. Turn pain into power. Embrace your truth. Live free. And this book is by Dr. Shefali. I was introduced to Dr. Shefali's work after listening to a video where someone was reading an excerpt from a poem that's in this book. And for me, that was my kind of poetry. And it's in more ways than one, it spoke to me. And I'm going to share this poem with you in its entirety, because the video that I heard it from didn't have the entire thing. And that is what motivated me to go and get a copy of this book. But before we even get into it, I want to just throw this out to you. What is your definition of a radical awakening? Here Dr. Shefali says it's turning pain into power. It's embracing your truth. And once you've done number one and number two, you can live free. Living free does not necessarily mean the same thing to all of us. So when you can define what is for you an awakening, and more so a radical one, when you can define what it is to turn your pain into your power and to be able to embrace your truth, then and only then can you live freely. So while I'm reading this poem, I need for you to do something. I need for you to examine yourselves and see if you can find anywhere in these lines something that represents you. Do you see yourself in here, and where? And even if you can't find yourself, maybe you've had women in your life who were significant. It might have been your mother, an aunt, a co-worker, or who knows. And maybe you can find those persons, those women, in the lines of this poem. And maybe in the same way that hearing the poem motivated me to go get the book so I could get the poem in its entirety, maybe it will motivate you to become the awakened woman that she speaks about. The Time of the Awakened Woman is the title of the poem. There comes a time in the life of a woman when she discards her old ways like tossed shoes in the garbage, when she shreds her list of shoulds and obligations, and when impossible expectations are burned in an incinerator. There comes a time in the life of a woman when the approval of others, once jewels, now turn to pennies in her sock, when the hunt for another is now replaced by a hunt for herself, and when parental tentacles of tradition no longer define her truth. There comes a time in the life of a woman when her desire to fit in with the crowd dissolves, when her manic compulsion to be perfect vaporizes, and when her obsession to be voted popular eviscerates. There comes a time in the life of a woman when she simply says no more, when facade, artifice, and guile leave her nauseated, And when righteousness, dogma, and superiority repulse her, there comes a time in the life of a woman when she no longer fears conflicts, but faces it boldly like a lioness. When she guards her authenticity as fearlessly as she guards her babies. And when she drops the role of savior, knowing she can only save herself. There comes a time in the life of a woman when she no longer cowers in the shadows of her unworthiness, when she no longer plays small so others can feel big, and when she swaps the role of victim for the role of co-creator. There comes a time in the life of a woman when she unabashedly and boldly occupies her ultimate sovereignty, when she finally feels ready to claim her space in the world, and when she redefines compassion as unequivocal self-love. There comes a time in the life of a woman when she finally releases her childlike dependencies on others, when she dares to rewrite a new mandate of living for herself, one that says, I release unworthiness and fear. I divorce civility and passivity. I divest inauthenticity and enmeshment. I end the pretense of being someone I am not. And from now on, I declare, I will ascend into my highest power. I will embrace my greatest autonomy. I will celebrate my deepest worth. I will embody my fiercest courage and manifest the most authentic me. The time is now. I am ready to awaken into my renaissance. Let that marinate. Just stew in it. Did you see yourself? Or, if not, did you see someone you know? Someone at some point in the poem were you able to say, yes, I know somebody who's like that. Yes, I remember so and so from a time in my life. Someone who was so maligned. Someone who was so greatly misunderstood. And now you're realizing that, hey, all she was doing was speaking her truth. Or did you see yourself? And if you saw yourself in here, more power to you. More power to you. Because I don't know, this is just what as women we should be. We shouldn't be afraid to speak our truth. Whatever price that's going to come with it, and believe me, a price will come with it. But you have to ask yourself, what is more important? Living my authentic self or living what someone else's vision of me should be, or is rather. I think it's more important to do you, bearing in mind that nobody can star in the show, in the movie of your life better than you can. You're not co-star, you are the star. And when you look back over your life, when you are lying on your deathbed, I can promise you, you will not be thinking about what others thought of you. You're more inclined to be thinking about the things that you should have done, that you did not do. So we're not going to say regrets. I've had a few. Let's say regrets. I don't have any. When you come to that point in your life. And in order to be able to say that, your awakening must start now. Your awakening must start today. So there comes a time when you have to discard your old ways. And don't expect everybody to be on board with your discarding your old ways. Oh no, because many times people want you to remain as you are. Because what you are now is a person they can manipulate, they can control. What you are now is the people pleaser. And there comes a time when that has got to go. Your list of shoulds and obligations. And you know, if you check it out, half of the time these things that you are obligated to do are things that you don't even enjoy doing. And the persons for whom you're doing them don't fully appreciate them either. And then you are burdened by these impossible expectations. And in order to fulfill these expectations for others, you can't be your true self. You can't be true because you're doing things many times out of a sense of duty. And it's a duty that you would really rather not take on. But because somebody thinks that this is your role, you go ahead and you do it. And you do it for many years. And the pain just drives you crazy. But you're expected to fit into this mold. And you squeeze yourself into it, as uncomfortable as it is. So there comes a time when the approval of others, the approval that you used to run after, the approval of the man or the woman in your life, the approval of the community in which you live, or the circle that you move in, when that approval no longer is something that you're running after and grasping after, it's no longer seen as the ideal. It's no longer the jewel in your crown. When you stop running after others and start hunting you, start chasing after you. Start chasing after the person you were designed to be, the person you were created to be. There comes a time when you simply say, enough is enough. This is it. Done. Yeah. There comes that time. And I will reiterate, don't expect everybody to be happy with this new you. No. You will, however, find that the people who all along meant well and still do mean well, they'll be happy for you. And those are the people that you know you need to keep in your inner circle. There comes a time in your life when you no longer fear conflict. I don't know if you've had this experience, but you know, there are some women and women specifically who are described as being aggressive. Yeah, you're aggressive. Or they tell you, oh, you're behaving like a man. You're behaving like you wear the pants. And yeah, I do wear the pants. I actually do wear the pants. But when you begin to assert yourself, they tell you you're an angry black woman. No, I'm not angry. I've never been angry. Disappointed, yes, with how things and people sometimes turn out. But I don't need to be angry. I don't need to waste emotion, energy, and time being angry. But I am me. I'm comfortable with me. I know me. But sometimes when people can't squeeze you up like putty, and they don't like when you're no longer walking the path they've set for you or dancing to the beat of their drum, then they find all sorts of things and titles and labels to slap on you. And then some of you start to cower because you don't like not being liked. So you fear conflict, and when you try to step out and other persons put up a blockade and try to keep you in, you just give up and say, okay, well, maybe this wasn't meant to be. No, face conflict. Face it boldly like a lioness. And you guard your authenticity fearlessly. For those of us who are mothers, and you know that you would do anything for your children, in the same way that you, as was it Bruno Mars, I think, used to say, I'll catch a grenade for you. Yeah, with that same level of resolve and fearlessness, that is how you are to guard your authenticity. And as women, we have this savior complex. Drop it. Drop it. And that's what she says here. There comes a time when you have to drop that savior complex, because you realize that the only person you can really save is you. Ooh. That's my stomach. There comes a time in the life of a woman when she no longer cowers in the shadows of her unworthiness. Shrinking violet? Nope. No more shrinking violet. That's done. You no longer need to play small so that somebody else can feel big. There is absolutely no reason to trade one for the other. They can both be big. I don't need to become less so that you can become more. And you don't need to become more so that I can become less either. When we swap out this victim role and become co-creator, you no longer see life as happening to you, but more that life is happening through you. Life is happening for you. See? You see the difference? Life is happening to me is victim. Life is happening for me. I'm a part of, I'm benefiting. Life is happening through me. I am co-creator. I am a part of the whole process of being and developing and shaping. There comes a time when you have to claim your space in the world. When you have to practice self-love. And don't confuse self-love with selfishness or conceit. It's just knowing that this is me, this is my authentic self, and I love me. I love me with my quirks. I love me with my what are some of the things that I love me with my not very flat stomach. I love me with my black woman curves. I love me with my hair as is. And guess what? If I feel to change it tomorrow, I will. I love me if I'm fat. I love me if I lose a few pounds, but I'm not going to lose a few pounds because somebody thinks I should. I lose a few pounds for my health, but not because somebody thinks I should. And that's the difference. When you fully realize that your childlike dependencies on others need to be released, when you realize that you need to rewrite a new mandate for you, and your new mandate says you release the toxic things of unworthiness and fear, you release the toxic things of servility and passivity, you stand up, you speak, you have a seat at the table, you have a voice. Use it. Don't let others speak for you. And you don't need to speak through others. You have a voice. And you'd be surprised that somebody somewhere needs to hear your voice. Not a second-hand version of what you said, but somebody needs to hear you directly. You need to end the pretense of being somebody you are not. I know someone who came from a long line of professionals, go on to university, you have the degree in this and the degree in that, and everybody's a professional. And this person wanted to go on and do something that was just not in keeping with the long line of professionals. Person wanted to go on and be an artist. And that was, as we say, hell and powder house. No, how could you? But that is what speaking your truth and being your authentic self is all about. It's finding your path and going down that path. The road, finding the road less traveled and taking that road. Because my thing is, as long as you can support yourself. Now, if you're going to become a starving artist, no. We're not talking about that. Because at a certain point in your life, you are financially responsible for yourself. So don't think you're going to go and take on this artistic thing because, hey, it's in style, it's fashionable, it's what everybody is doing, or your friends are doing it, and you cannot even buy a loaf of bread. Forget it. But if you can live, you can support yourself, and who knows, maybe even support others, then by all means, pursue. From now on, let us as women, and guess what? And I mean, the poem speaks directly to men, to women, sorry. It speaks directly to women, but we have some brothers who can find themselves within these lines. And if it speaks to you as a brother and you see where you have been living like a shrinking violet yourself, You've been going through the motions and doing the things that people think you ought to be doing as a man. Well, no, you need to stop being a man and become the man. And when you know the difference between a man and the man, then you'll understand fully. You'll see yourself in the lines of this poem too. From now on, let us declare, I will ascend into my highest power. I will embrace my greatest autonomy. I will celebrate my deepest worth. I will embody my fiercest courage and manifest the most authentic, who? Me. The most authentic, not the most authentic. I will not manifest the most authentic you. I will not manifest the most authentic my friend. I will and can only manifest the most authentic me. And when is the time to do that? Now. Right now. The best time to have done it was several years ago. The second best time to do it is now. So for those of us who haven't done it, stand up, be bold. Are you ready? I am ready. Are you ready to awaken your renaissance? This is not the day and age for shrinking violets. This is the day and age for radically awakened women. The radically awakened woman is you. The radically awakened woman is me. So until next time, when we take another deep dive into something, somehow, somewhere, take care.